Let's start from the very beginning of the trailer because the way they open this thing is intentional. Everything in a trailer like this is placed on purpose, and the opening alone tells you everything about where Season 5 is heading. The trailer doesn't ease you in. It doesn't give you some slow, peaceful moment before things get dark. It throws you straight into the tension, and that right there is the first sign that this season is going to be something completely different from what we've seen before. The atmosphere feels heavier. The color tone feels colder. And if you pay attention to even the smallest details in the background, you start to realize that the world Kanan is living in has gotten a whole lot more dangerous, not just for his enemies, but for the people closest to him too. Now, what immediately stands out is Kanan himself. Because the version of him we're seeing in this trailer is not the same impulsive, emotional kid we watched fumble through seasons 1, 2, and 3. That version of Kanan was reactive. He made decisions out of anger, out of love, out of desperation. He was always chasing something, always trying to prove himself to somebody. But the Kanan in this trailer looks like he's done proving things. There's a stillness to him now that is honestly unsettling when you think about what that stillness means. Because we know who Kanan Stark becomes. We've seen him in power. We know the kind of man he grows into: cold, calculated, loyal to nobody but himself and his bag. And watching this trailer, you can see that transformation is no longer coming. It has already started. And the reason that transformation feels so real, so earned, so gut-wrenching to watch, comes directly from what happened in that Season 4 finale. That moment with Rak. That confrontation that the entire season was building toward. Kanan showing up to face his own mother with a gun in his hand, refusing to hear a single word she said, completely convinced that the woman who raised him was responsible for destroying everything he loved. And then that gunshot. That single sound that cut to black and left every single one of us sitting there with our mouths open, wondering what just happened and what it means for everything going forward. The trailer doesn't spell it out for you immediately, and I actually respect that, because the ambiguity is what makes it so powerful. They want you to feel the weight of that moment before they start giving you answers. But here's what the trailer does give you, and this is where things get really interesting. We see Rak, and the fact that we see her at all already says something. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you she's perfectly fine and that nothing happened, because clearly, something happened. You can see it in the way she carries herself in this trailer. Something has changed in her too. That sharp, controlled, always 10 steps ahead version of Rak that we've watched, runs circles around everybody for 4 seasons, looks like she's finally been cracked open. Like whatever went down in that finale didn't just threaten her life, it threatened something deeper. Her sense of control, her belief that she could always fix things, always find a way out, always protect what she built, even when the people she built it for turned against her. That armor she's always worn, that unshakable confidence, it looks thinner now, and honestly that makes her more dangerous, not less, because a woman like Rak with nothing left to lose is a completely different kind of threat than the one we've been watching all this time. And then there's the moment in the trailer that I genuinely had to rewind 3 times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The dynamic between Kanan and Rak in this season is not what you'd expect, given everything that happened. You might go into this thinking it's going to be all-out war between them, that they're on opposite sides now with no chance of coming back from what went down. But the trailer is suggesting something way more complicated than that. Because trauma and family don't work in straight lines. You can hate someone and still need them. You can want to destroy someone and still feel that pull, that connection that doesn't care about logic or anger or everything you've been through. And that tension, that push and pull between these two characters who share blood and history and pain is clearly going to be the emotional backbone of this entire season. And if the writers handle it the way I think they will, it's going to absolutely wreck you. But as heavy as all of that is, the trailer makes it very clear that the emotional drama is only one layer of what Season 5 is bringing. Because running underneath all of it, underneath the family fallout and the guilt and the grief, is the street-level story that this show has always done so well. And this season, that story has a new face in it. A face that every single person who has watched Power from the very beginning has been waiting to see in this world. And the moment he appeared in that trailer, I already knew that everything was about to change. That name is Breeze. And if you know Power, you already know exactly why that matters. Breeze isn't just some new character being introduced to shake things up or fill a slot in the story. Breeze is the man. He is the foundation of everything that Ghost and Tommy became. He is the one who took two young guys from South Jamaica, Queens, and showed them how the game really worked. He is the reason the Power universe exists the way it does. And now we're finally getting to see how he connects to Kanan, how that relationship started, what it looked like in the beginning before everything we know from Power happened. This is the missing piece. This is the part of the story that fans have been trying to piece together in their heads for years, and Season 5 is finally going to show it to us for real. The way Breeze is presented in the trailer already tells you a lot about how this season is going to handle him. He's not being played small. He's not some background character who shows up in a couple of scenes and then disappears. The trailer treats him with the same weight and presence that the character deserves given his place in the entire Power mythology. You can feel immediately that Kanan respects him, which is significant on its own because at this point in his life, Kanan doesn't really respect anybody easily. He's been burned too many times. He's learned the hard way that trust is a liability, and loyalty is something people only claim until it costs them something. But Breeze is different. And you can see that difference in the way Kanan looks at him, in the way he listens, in the way he moves when Breeze is around. It's the look of someone who has finally found the person who speaks the language he's been trying to learn his whole life. And that relationship is going to be one of the most important things this season explores, because it's not just about two guys building a drug empire together, it's about mentorship. It's about what happens when a young man who has been failed by almost every adult in his life finally finds someone who sees him clearly and decides to invest in him. That's what Breeze represents for Kanan at this stage of his life. Not just a connect, not just a business partner, but someone who looks at him and sees potential instead of a problem. And for a kid who grew up watching his mother make decisions that shaped his entire world without ever fully letting him in, that kind of recognition is everything. It's exactly the kind of relationship that can change someone completely. And given who Kanan becomes, we already know how that change plays out. But the trailer also makes it clear that Breeze coming into the picture doesn't make things simpler. If anything, it adds a whole new layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Because Kanan bringing Breeze into his world means bringing him into all the chaos that's already happening, all the unresolved tension with Rack, all the fallout from Season 4, all the enemies that are still very much in the picture. And the streets in this trailer do not look forgiving. They look like a city that has gotten tired of waiting for things to settle and has decided to move forward by force. Every faction, every player, every person with something to gain or something to protect is making their move in Season 5. And the pressure on Kanan from every direction is unlike anything we've seen him face before. What makes this even more intense is the timing. Because Kanan is at his most vulnerable emotionally, at the exact same moment that he needs to be at his most sharp strategically. He's carrying the weight of what happened with Rack. He's dealing with the guilt, the confusion, the rage that hasn't fully found somewhere to go yet. And now he has to step up and operate at a higher level in the streets than he ever has before. That combination, emotional devastation meeting elevated stakes, is exactly the kind of pressure that either breaks people completely or forces them to evolve faster than they ever thought possible. And based on what this trailer is showing us, Kanan is not breaking. He is evolving, painfully, brutally, and in ways that are going to cost him things he doesn't even know he's about to lose yet. The supporting cast in this trailer also deserves real attention because the show has always been strong when it comes to the people around Kanan, and Season 5 looks like it's going to push all of them to their limits too. Nobody is getting out of this season without being tested. The alliances that survived Season 4 are clearly going to be strained in ways that nobody saw coming. And some of the faces you see in this trailer, standing next to Kanan or across from him, carry expressions that make you question everything you thought you knew about where their loyalties actually lie. Now let's talk about Unique, because the trailer gives us just enough of him to make it very clear that his story is nowhere near finished. Unique has always been one of the most layered characters in this entire show. He operates in this space between genuine feeling and street necessity that makes him impossible to fully write off no matter what he does. He's made choices that were hard to watch. He's done things that put him on the wrong side of people we care about. But there's always been something underneath all of that, something that almost looks like a conscience, even when everything around him is pushing him to abandon it completely. And the version of Unique we see in this trailer looks like a man who is finally being forced to choose. Not just between people or sides, but between who he's been and who he might still be able to become. That kind of choice, made under that kind of pressure, in a world that doesn't reward softness, is going to make for some of the most compelling television this show has ever produced. And then there's Juke. And I have to be real with you, Juke's presence in this trailer hit differently than I expected. Because everything she went through in Season 4, everything she witnessed, everything she tried to prevent and couldn't, all of that is sitting on her in every single moment she appears in this trailer. She looks like someone who has been carrying something heavy for a long time and is starting to feel the weight of it in a way she can no longer pretend isn't there. Juke has always been the character in this show who sees things clearly when everyone else is too deep in their own stuff to think straight. She's the one who tried to warn Rack. She's the one who understood what Kanan was becoming before he understood it himself. And now, in Season 5, that clarity she's always had is going to put her in a position that looks incredibly dangerous. Because in a world where everybody is operating on half-truths and hidden agendas, being the person who sees everything clearly doesn't keep you safe. It makes you a target. The trailer also gives us a look at the broader street landscape of South Jamaica, Queens, in ways that feel more expansive than previous seasons. The world of this show has always been geographically tight, rooted in a specific community with specific rules and specific history. But Season 5 looks like it's pushing the boundaries of that world outward. New territory, new players, new threats coming from angles that the people we've been watching navigate this world for 4 seasons aren't fully prepared for. And that expansion of the world makes sense narratively because this is the season where we start to see the infrastructure of the power universe really taking shape. Breeze's influence doesn't just affect Kanan personally. It changes the entire ecosystem of how business gets done, who has power, who's being pushed out, and what the new order is going to look like when the dust finally settles. One of the things the trailer does incredibly well is build tension without giving you a clear resolution to hold on to. Every time you think you've grabbed onto something solid, something that tells you where things are headed, the trailer pulls it away and replaces it with another question. That's intentional. That's the show telling you that Season 5 is not going to be predictable. It's not going to follow the path you mapped out in your head based on what you know from Power. Because yes, we know the destination, we know who Kanan becomes, but the road getting there is full of turns that nobody saw coming, and the trailer is doing exactly what it's supposed to do by making you feel that uncertainty in your chest, even when you think you know what's coming. The music in the trailer also does a lot of work that I think people might overlook if they're too focused on the visuals. The sound design, the way the score builds and drops and then builds again, mirrors the emotional rhythm of what's happening on screen in a way that just amplifies everything. There are moments in this trailer where the silence hits harder than any line of dialogue could, and that's a creative choice that reflects how serious this season is taking its own story. This is not a season of raising Kanan that is here to entertain you casually. This is a season that wants to sit with you, that wants you to think about it after it's over, that wants to make you feel something real. Now let's get into what all of this means for the endgame of Raising Kanan as a series, because Season 5 is not just another chapter in this story. Based on everything the showrunner has said, based on everything this trailer is showing us, Season 5 feels like the beginning of the end. And I don't mean that in a sad way. I mean it in the way where a story that has been building for years is finally starting to arrive at the place it was always heading. Every season of this show has been laying a brick. Every relationship, every betrayal, every loss, every choice that Kanan has made has been part of building something that we're now finally close enough to see in full. And what this trailer is telling us is that Season 5 is where the last few bricks get laid, where the structure becomes recognizable, where Kanan Stark the legend starts to look like Kanan Stark the person we met in Power. That transition is going to be the emotional core of this season, and I think it's going to hit harder than most people are prepared for. Because we've spent 5 seasons watching this kid, watching him make mistakes, watching him love people and lose them, watching him try and fail and try again. And now we're at the point where the version of him that survives all of that is not the version that still has softness in him. The Kanan Stark, who comes out the other side of Season 5, is the one who has buried that softness somewhere deep and learned to operate without it. And understanding everything that went into burying it, everything this show has shown us about where it came from and what it cost him, is what makes that transformation tragic in a way that no villain origin story has made me feel in a long time. Rack's arc in Season 5 also feels like it's heading somewhere final in a way that the trailer is being very careful about how it shows you. She has always been the most complex character in this entire show, a woman who loves fiercely and manipulates ruthlessly and somehow makes you understand both of those things at the same time. She is not a hero and she is not a villain. She is a mother and a hustler and a survivor who has been playing a game with impossible rules for her entire adult life. And Season 5 looks like it's going to force her to reckon with the cost of all of it in a way that she has always found a way to avoid before. The question isn't whether she's strong enough to survive what's coming. We already know she's strong enough. The question is whether surviving it is going to leave anything of her worth saving. Breeze's full integration into the story this season also sets up something that goes beyond just raising Kanan as a show. It starts to close the loop on the entire Power Universe's mythology in a way that no other spin-off has been able to do this directly. Because Breeze is the connective tissue between the world of this show and the world of the original Power. He's the reason Ghost and Tommy became who they were. He's the reason the Empire existed. And watching how he and Kanan build their bond, watching how the foundation gets laid, is going to recontextualize things that longtime Power fans thought they already fully understood. That's a rare thing for any franchise to be able to do. Go back to the beginning and make you see something you've already watched completely differently. And from what this trailer is showing, Raising Kanan Season 5 is going to pull that off.